your friend is looking fat 'cause he sits at home all day with his cat. You could try giving him a yoga mat, but he might not like that, but stay positive. When the girl at work is feeling sad, she's way behind and the boss is mad, give her a hand that she has not had and let her know it's not so bad. Stay positive.
Good morning. Don't you just love that song? I had that tune. I can't whistle. I'm not a good whistler, but anyway, that's all right. How's everybody doing? Good. I tell you what, the second crowd, I'm gonna be honest with you, the second crowd is much livelier than this one. How's everybody doing? Now, I come into that one, they're dancing, people are running around the auditorium. No, not really, they don't do that. But they get excited, they have a good time. I'm happy to be here today. I love this series. It's kind of right down, right at my wheelhouse right here. Week one, we're talking about staying positive. Week one, we talked about how we can be optimistic. Because God loves us. If he's for us, who can be against us? Nobody. Last week, we talked about being grateful. Are we grateful for the things that we have in our life? What's up, Kyle Turner? How are you? Everyone say hi, Kyle. Hi, Kyle. Nice, like I hate you, Shane. And then also, this week, week 3 of Stay Positive, we are going to be talking about this great topic. I'm encouraging. Be encouraging. Be an encourager. Everyone just say that word, encouragement. Encouragement. Now let's say this word, encourager. Encouraging. Let's be encouraging people. We live in a chronically negative world. It's so easy to find someone that's negative or pessimistic or just always Debbie Downer. That's not hard to find. You probably work with a ton of them. But it's hard to find someone that's an encourager. I mean, think about that right now. If you put discouragers on this side and encouragers on this side, which one fills up first? Discouragers. It's the easy thing to do. Jump on the bandwagon and just be like the rest of social media. But we have all these voices of discouragement in the world. I can't even imagine being a kid these days. I can't imagine being a kid. When I grew up, we didn't have social media, so nobody knew of your failures, okay? But when I was a kid, in school, anyone ever not get picked for a team? Dan, of course. I can see that. I can see it. No, I'm kidding. Man, I was that kid, if it was, for me growing up, I was always a big kid. So when, they were picking teams for sports, unless it was football, you don't want Shane. He's the fat, slow kid. You don't want him. If you weren't in advanced classes, that wasn't me. I didn't have advanced classes. But now, it's put out there in public. You put something out there on your Instagram or your Twitter or your Facebook, you can see how popular you are real quick. And everyone can see how not popular you are real quick. And it's just put in your face, and there's hard data proof that shows you're a loser. And it's tough. Some people are like, man, this hurts. This hurts. There's proof of it. No. And then as you get to be an adult, the same thing happens. We go to work, and maybe the project that we did, it wasn't good enough for the boss. He was picking it apart, and you come home sometimes, and maybe you come home to a house of discouragement where your spouse is discouraging as well. Maybe you spend holidays with your in-laws. Oh, that sounds fun. And your in-laws criticize you for how you raise your kids, and then your kids join in with the in-laws, and they agree with them. Come on, Dad, get it together. Or maybe you bought some new pants. You ever bought new pants? Got your tight pants on, get new pants. And you wear them out, and someone notices, oh, are those new pants? And you go, yes, they are. And they just say, oh, what? What's wrong with my pants? All the time, this is my wife. Every day, she's like, are you going to wear those? I was, but now I'm nervous to. And normally it's they don't stay up. And I'm like, welcome to my wardrobe. Nothing stays up, anyways. And then you get on social media, and you see your best friend going on their second vacation of the year, and you haven't been on one. Kyle Turner. I went to Disneyland. I went to San Diego. I went to the beach. Yeah, it was 12 here. All right? Or you see your best friends going on a date, and you haven't been on a date in forever, and they're going to a nice restaurant, and here you are eating ramen. I like ramen. Ramen's good. I like ramen. Or what about the party that you weren't invited to that you saw everybody else at? It's all over Facebook. It's all over Facebook. That's what I'm saying. Social media shows you how much your life stinks. But in a world filled with negativity, we are called to stay positive. That's what we can do as the church, us right here. Everyone look at the person sitting next to you. Now look at the person sitting on the other side of you. Those people are supposed to be positive. You don't have to be positive, just the other people. God's calling you to be an encourager. We need to build others up in a world that tears people down. And one of the most spiritual things that we can do, one of the most spiritual things that we can do is be an encourager. How many of you are teachers? We have a lot of teachers in this church. You're called to be an encourager, whether the kid deserves it or not. I'm a pastor. Sometimes I have to be an encourager when I don't feel like it. I think God feels the same way sometimes. He's like, he doesn't really deserve it, but I still love him. I still love him. So that's what we're going to talk about. Our God. Our God is an encouraging God. We're going to jump in here in the book of Titus, or in the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 7, verses 5 and 6. We're going to talk about this right here. For when we came into Macedonia, we had no rest, but we were harassed. The Apostle Paul is talking to the Macedonians here. He says, we face conflict from every turn. We were harassed. Anybody ever face conflict in their life? You ever feel like life is just an uphill battle? You ever feel like you take 2 steps or 1 step forward, but you take 2 steps back, and it just feels like you're treading water? Like, man, why does life have to be so difficult? This happens with bills. You get one paid off, and guess what happens? Another one comes in. It's like, when did we get an x-ray? Why don't x-ray bills ever come in when you get an x-ray? They're always like 2, 4, 3 a year down the road. When did we get an x-ray? I don't know why that came into my head, but it did. But anyways, for when we came into Macedonia, we had no rest. We were harassed at every turn. Conflicts on the outside, fears within. Conflicts on the outside and fear within. But I love this as it goes on. This is verse 6. Everyone say, but God. But God. But God, who comforts the downcast, comforted us by the coming of Titus. So right here, if you ever walked around feeling discouraged, hurting in life, maybe you're someone like, this is what Paul is talking about. We face discouragement. We face conflicts. We face challenges. We face trials. And this is something that we can take strength from, that we can look at and say, you know what? God doesn't forget us. He encourages us in ways if we will have eyes to see it. And I know that a lot of people, if I were to take you one by one and we went and sat down in the old office over there and we start talking, probably wouldn't be very hard to get you to talk about areas in your life that you feel you deal with conflict, where you deal with discouragement, where you deal with conflict and trials and tough days. It's not very hard. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your family's health. Maybe it's your relationship. Maybe it's your job. It's your finances. It's your kids. But here's the thing. We have a God that loves to encourage those discouraged. So how, Shane, Pastor Shane, does God encourage the discouraged? Well, this verse, it talked about that. God sent Titus. He sent Paul Titus. It says, for when he came into Macedonia, we were tired. We had no rest. Anybody in this room tired today? You stayed up too late, didn't you? Watched the end of that amazing Packers game, didn't you? Yep. What do you mean woohoo? Who woohooed that? Do we have Packers fans in here? You're wearing a Manning jersey while she's a Packers. Put it down, Judy. She's wearing a Manning jersey. What are you, Packers fan? Me? I love you. Oh my goodness. So anyways, God sends Paul Titus, and Paul attributed at this moment where he's faced with harassment and conflict and he's tired, when he feels alone and frustrated and struggling, God looks at this and he attributed the arrival of another godly man as a sign from God. And I'm sure that this didn't seem too significant to Titus, but it did to Paul. You ever feel like, man, if someone at this moment just recognized my stress, it would help me. If somebody would just recognize that my house is a mess, if somebody would recognize that our bills are just somebody. You have no clue what you can do in someone's life by being an encourager. It seems so significant to Titus, I'm sure, right here. All he does is show up. All he does is show up. But to the one that's discouraged, Paul feels not forgotten. Paul feels not forgotten. It didn't seem that significant to Paul or to Titus, but it was to Paul. When you have eyes to see spiritual things, you can take what others say is a coincidence as an action from God because it brings encouragement. Because see, there's things in life that happen. There are things in life that happen. Just these moments, and I can see this with Julie. She'll come home after these tough days and she'll look at the frustration of the laundry and the cooking and the cleaning and the house and just be like overwhelmed. But then her daughters will come and sit in her lap. And I can just see how it's one of those moments that she looks at that and she says, you know what, I'm not forgotten. Every day of my life is a blessing. She looks at that and it's so insignificant to Bella or Gabby that's just coming up, just wants to be with mom. But we look at that as parents. That's our blessing, the fact that every time they come and they love on us, that we're not forgotten. It's encouragement to us. It's encouragement to me. Or we have friends in our life that do just the same thing. The fact that a text message came through, the fact that a voicemail was left on your phone, just something in some way that shows that, man, someone else is thinking about you. We have the ability to be an encourager. I've got this friend in my life. Believe it or not, it's a guy I used to work with. His name's Philip. I'm not kidding you. Philip is an encourager. He's one of these guys that I have not seen him for, 3-4 months, but I'll get these little texts or a voicemail or something in my messenger on Facebook, and he's one of these people. He's like, "Hey man, I checked your message out online, and I'm just proud of you. I'm thankful that you kept on doing what you're doing." Or he says, "You know what? Can I take you to lunch? Let's go play golf. Let's go." Just something. Just wants to be an encourager. Do you have somebody in your life that you can look at that you say, you know what? It's just those little moments that you're not forgotten. And I've also got friends in my daily life every day. They just call and say, "Hey, I want to pray for you. I just want to be an encouragement to you." Do you have anyone in your life that's like that? That just says, "Hey, I want to lift you up. I want to encourage you. I want to go a step beyond that." Are you that to somebody else? Are you that to somebody else? Because that's what we have the ability to do. We can be Titus. We can be that someone who cares. Because here's the thing, God cares, and because he cares, he sends those that care. Remembering somebody is just, it could change someone's life. You have no clue the power of just standing at the front door and remembering somebody's name when they walk into the church. That's the God's honest truth. I literally know of a story where because somebody was remembered, because they walked into the doors, they said, "You know what? I was going to end my life, but I came here tonight, and I saw people that remembered me. I saw people that knew who I was, and I realized maybe, just maybe, I did have something to live for." Something so insignificant is just simply remembering somebody. Just remembering. "Oh, how are you? It's so good that you came back." What? It's good that I came back? It's good that I'm here? You notice that I'm here? Yes. Yes. And so this is what happens when we have eyes to see and ears to hear. We have these God moments. Man, when we lift up God by reading the Word, by being invested in his Word, by praying, there's these little things that can happen throughout your day all the time. You'll hear a song, and there'll be something in that song that jogs your mind and remembers, "Oh, it's kind of how God is to me." You'll read something, you'll read a scripture, and you remember, "Oh, that's what they talked about at church. We talked about that at small group. That's what we talked about." And it just remembers, and it jogs your mind. There's a sermon. When we pray, we remember the promises that we've hidden in our hearts that God hasn't forgotten us. And that's what happens when we get in the Word. That's why it's so important that we pray. That's why it's so important that we be in a fellowship, because it's not, we're not allowed to hide from encouragement or possibly encouraging somebody else. So often people are like, "Man, I don't need to go to church. I don't need to go to church to worship God." I guess that really is true. But you know, the church is called the bride of Christ. What if you never spent any time with your bride? If you're a bride, husband, anyway. But what if you never spent any time with your husband or your wife? kind of hard to have a good relationship. God's pretty passionate about his church. He calls it his bride. And through this right here, maybe it's not about the fact that you need to come and just be there, but you have the ability to encourage somebody else that needs it. Because not every day that you walk in the church, you're not the one that needs the encouragement. Maybe someone else does. But it goes both ways. So today we're going to share this, 3 of the most spiritual things that you can do. 3 of the most spiritual things that you can do. And first thing we said, the most spiritual thing we can do is be an encourager. So the first thing is this: encourage others daily. We need to encourage others daily because the voice of discouragement is strong. The voice of discouragement every day is strong. I finally saw something encouraging on social media yesterday, that Pastor Saeed was finally freed. It was amazing to finally see something positive, not about a robbery, not about a terrorist act, not about some NFL player doing something stupid, but just seeing something encouraging. The voice of discouragement is so strong. And you know what? We have to do this daily. The Bible even talks about, you know what? We need to die to ourselves every day. Well, we need to encourage others daily. We need to encourage somebody else daily. Our own voice sometimes is louder than everybody else's. Sometimes we are the biggest discouragers in our own life. So we have this little voice inside us that ticks, that ticks, that ticks, that ticks. It says, you're not good enough. It says, why do you even bother? It says, why do you even try? You're not going to make a difference. Your family doesn't appreciate what you do. Check this out, Hebrews 3:13. It says, but encourage one another daily. Encourage one another daily as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness. And I've tried to encourage people with this when they're going through a tough time in life and say the very thing. Sin slowly deceives you. Little by little by little by little by little. Sin doesn't just jump out and one day surprise you. It creeps into your life little by little by little, and slowly, 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 our hearts are hardened. Where if we would look at a snapshot of our life now and a snapshot of our life 8 months ago, we may look like completely different people because of what we allow sin to do in our life and the lie that we start believing. And that's exactly right here. But encourage one another daily. I take a vitamin every day, a vitamin. Vitamin doesn't do a whole lot of good if I take it like today, and then like 2 months down the road, I take another vitamin. And then like 4 months down the road, I take another vitamin. It doesn't do much for me. But every day, when I take a vitamin, every day, it builds up immunity in my life. It allows me to have energy through the day. It allows me to do those things because I participate in it every day. But if I just do it today, and then like next Friday, I forgot I'm gonna have another vitamin, it doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't do anything for me. And it's the same thing right here. We have to encourage each other daily to build up an immunity to sin. And we're never immune to sin, but to build up our system to be protected from sin. And one of the ways that we can do that is by encouraging others daily. We should be an instrument or a tool for God. You struggling in your own faith? Step out and be encouragement to someone else. You'll be amazed at what it does in your own faith walk. When you would step out and encourage someone else. It's amazing what happens when we take the focus off of our own pitiful lives as we think, and we encourage somebody else. We step out and encourage somebody else. Be a tool for God. A lot of us are already tools. You might as well do something with it. Don't keep encouraging words for others to yourself. This is so good. Is it enough, husbands, to just know that your wife loves you? Wives, is it enough just for you to know that your husband loves you? Or is there something about hearing the actual words, I love you? Young people, is it enough to know that your dad just loves you? Or that your mom just loves you? Or is there something to be said about actually hearing the words? About hearing the words, Sonny, man, I love you. No, you didn't have to say it back. That just got awkward. No. Or just hearing the words. No, it feels good. Just to know that you're loved. Just to know that. the actions, the words. Don't keep encouraging words for others to yourself. When you know and you're thinking in your mind, man, spit that stuff out. We're so good at spitting out pessimism. Spit out the good stuff too. Man, I just want you to know I appreciate what you do. Hey, you guys that put the cones out this morning, thank you. I mean that. I didn't have to do it. I appreciate that. You that cleaned the church this week, thank you. And I mean that. You that are watching our kids, thank you. They said that. Thank you. Don't keep encouraging words for others to yourself. Connect with people. Connect. There's power in connecting with people. And don't let sin harden your hearts. Encouragement breaks that down. Hebrews 10, 24, 25. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love. Let us think how we can spur one another on towards good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some of us are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching, as you see the day drawing near. Here's the thing. I need encouragement in my life. I'm one of these people. I need it. I need to be encouraged. And because I need it, I give encouragement. I don't just take it, I give it. So if we need encouragement, we need to give it. And if I think something good, I say it. We need to have that in our minds, in our life. I need encouragement, therefore I need to give it. If I'm thinking something good, share it. Number two, we encourage others daily. The next thing we need to do is encourage others spiritually, going beyond just the fact that, man, you're doing a good job. I appreciate what you do. All these things are good. You know, someone has a project they did at work. Hey, great job on that. Your house looks good. Hey, great job on that. I love your haircut. Sometimes you just got to say it even when it isn't true. Hey, man, your hair, it's great. Thank God in 6 weeks it grows out, right? But here's the thing. These are good things, but we need to go beyond that. Romans 1, 10 and 12, 10 through 12. In my prayers at all times, and I pray that now at last, by God's will, the way may be open for me to come to you. I long to see you, though, so that I may impart to you some spiritual gift to make you strong. That is, that you and I may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith. We need to be encouraging one another by our faith. So what's being said here, Paul is sharing, we need to be encouraging one another by our faith. We need to, men, I'm talking to men right now. We need to be interested in each other's lives. Yeah, hey, how's work? How's the family? Things like that. But we also need to be in each other's lives about, hey, where are you with God? How can I be praying for you in that? How can I encourage you in your faith? Because when I encourage you in your faith and you're a friend of mine, you're in my circle, it comes back to me. And it's not really just about me, but there is something about that. You ever heard that thing, iron sharpens iron? It's exactly what that is. We need to encourage those people in our circle, not just about, hey, man, your house looks great. I love what you did. That car is awesome. You're doing great. We need to encourage each other in our faith as well. Encourage in their faith as well. I want to build you up spiritually, and in turn, I want to be built up spiritually by you. I'll build your house, you build mine. It's in these moments that we help carry each other through rough days. Because here's the truth. Those that walk through the rough days of my life walk through the good days, and those that walk through the good days of my life are pretty good about walking through the rough days of my life. I've got a pretty good circle of people around me that walk through difficult times with me. A few years ago when Julie and I experienced a miscarriage, we had 2 of them. Something that was amazing was the circle of people that we had around us that would not let us be alone. You know, you're like, but you're a pastor, Shane. You shouldn't have been alone. But you know what? Human nature just says, I want to withdraw. I want to retreat, kind of pull away. But I had this circle of people around me that said, no way. We're gonna bring you food. We're gonna come and sit in your house. We're gonna talk to you. We're gonna pray over you. We're gonna watch your kids so you can go on a date. We're just gonna love you where you are. The same thing, man, when we go through surgeries and things like that, my friends would go through surgeries, we go sit in hospitals, we go visit each other. We're there through the good and through the bad. I take encouragement through that. I don't know about you, but I take encouragement through that. This needs to be something normal. It needs to be something normal, not something special. We encourage one another. We encourage one another. We need to encourage someone who's hurting. When people are hurting, the thing we need to do is lift them up, not tear them down. Build them up. Don't tear them down. Lift them up. Lift somebody else up. When somebody's dealing with cancer, we don't tear them down. We build them up. But why is it that we have to have cancer for us to be lifted up? What about when life isn't so serious? What about when we're just dealing with a bad day? Do we look up at somebody and say, just suck it up, move on? No, encourage, encourage, encourage. Pray with somebody, encourage and lift them up. Number 3, encourage yourself in the Lord. Encourage yourself in the Lord. We need to encourage each other daily. We need to encourage each other spiritually. And the third thing that we can do is encourage yourself in the Lord. David was massively distressed. People were talking about stoning him. But in 1 Samuel 36, but David encouraged himself, and the Lord is God. When David was alone and nobody was there to encourage him and nobody was there to lift him up, we have to have the maturity. We have to have the know-how. We have to be in relationship with God so that when nobody else is there, we don't just fold up shop and give up. We encourage ourselves. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. I can do it all. Because Christ is for me, who can be against me? It says right here, but David encouraged himself, and the Lord is God. We have to have faith, and because we have faith, we realize that God is with me, that God is for me, that God has given me everything that I need to succeed in life. In my marriage, when nobody believes in it, in my job, when nobody believes in me. And until you get a circle of people that encourage you, you've got to be able to encourage yourself and realize that if God is for you, it doesn't matter who is against you. But you know how you get a circle of people that encourage you? By encouraging them. If you look at your life and you say, I don't have anybody in my life that encourages me. I don't have anybody in my life that stands up for me. Start standing up for them. And it's amazing how that starts coming around tenfold. When you start speaking life into other people, it's amazing how life will get spoken into you. God is giving you everything that you need, and you need to remember that. And when you get those moments, those days, this is the truth. My wife will vouch for this. I keep every encouraging thing that comes to me. Everything. I have a file in my drawer. It's about that thick now. That every time I get a kind note, a card, a word, I print it out and I keep it and I put it in this. It's titled my Cool Keepsakes file. And every time that I get discouraged and I wonder, why do I do what I do? And I get frustrated, or I feel unappreciated, or I literally I'll open that up and I just start sifting through that. And there's 20 years of things in that file, from old teachers, from friends, from family, from youth, from people at church, from neighbors. And I look at those and I keep this Rolodex of everything cool that's ever been shared with me, so I can remember that encouragement. So I'm telling you, as somebody that stands up here on this stage, encouragement's a really big deal to me. It really is. So much so that I keep a file of everything I've ever had encouraging in my life. Because guess what I really didn't grow up with? I didn't really grow up with a dad that was like, hey, Shane, good job. Hey, Shane, I'm proud of you. I grew up with a really young mom, and I love her to death, but she was kind of busy with her own stuff. And then I was somebody else's problem because I lived with somebody else, and they love me, but I just never really had that thing. Hey, we're proud of you. Good job. So it's a really big deal to me now. And I take every instance in my life when I'm alone with my kids, we're driving the car, I'll look at them and say, you know what? I'm proud of you. You know what makes me proud about you? That you never give up, that you're smart, that you try, that you're you, that you're bold, that you're honoring. I love that about you. And just encourage them. Just encourage them. They may grow up to be brats, but at least they'll grow up to be brats knowing that they were encouraged, not because dad didn't encourage them. So today, quit whining about life. Stop whining. Start encouraging. Fix it. God is calling you to be an encourager. He's calling you to be an encourager daily. He's calling you to encourage others spiritually. And he's calling you, when nobody else is doing it, to do it yourself. Let's pray.